What?
It's time now for My Two Favorite Librarians. Brought to you by Copper Tree Boutique in Dales Grand Market, located in beautiful, historic downtown Amherst.
Hi, this is My Two Favorite Librarians. I'm Denise Corey.
I'm Chantel Taylor, and today we're talking about books with recipes.
Yes.
That are not cookbooks.
Yes, because I was going to say, before you start, we're not talking about recipe books. We're talking about books that have recipes in them.
As part of the story.
As part of the story, or because they've mentioned it so many times and it's...
Or maybe it's a biography?
Yeah. Or, not recipe books. Books with recipes in them.
All right.
Just to clarify, because I know you'll just be like, blah, 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 recipe books, because you love them.
I do love them.
And you just, read them like a book.
Yeah, I do, because I find them very enjoyable.
And I never read them like a book. Well, I never read them. So, if you have ever had a conversation with me, you will know that I'm not a person who enjoys cooking or recipe books. I do enjoy food. I enjoy food a lot.
Especially if someone's cooking it for you.
Well, only if someone's cooking it for me. I hate, cooking.
You do survive, so therefore you make food for yourself.
Yeah, I'm very good at ordering pizza. That's a good skill set. And boiling pasta. That's how I...
Baking pizza?
Oh, frozen pizza from a box? Yeah. It's a hard topic for me because I don't like recipes or cooking. But, there are a lot of books out there with recipes in them. So I started looking things up. And one of the ones that I want to talk about is The Spice Necklace. Oh. And I know we have talked about this before, but I think it's been a while.
Have we?
So the subtitle of that is A Food Lover's Caribbean Adventure by Anne Vanderhoff.
Oh, it's starting to sound familiar now.
Yeah. So it kind of crosses the line. It's not a recipe book. It's really more a book about she and her husband quit their jobs. They have a sailboat, and they just go sailing for a year. So this is the second book. In the first book, it was An Embarrassment of Mangoes, and that's talking about them quitting their jobs, buying the sailboat, blah, 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 blah. I haven't actually read that book. It's on my list, but I haven't gotten there. But The Spice Necklace, so I'm not a foodie, I'm not a sailor, but I loved that book. I loved it. It was so good. And I bought a copy of it and gave it to somebody for Christmas that year, too.
Wow.
Yeah. It's got recipes. It's got a lot of information about how they harvest spices in different places or how they, feed goats oregano to make them taste better. Pre-spicing them, I guess.
Interesting. Ew.
There's also lots of information about rum.
So one of your favorite subjects?
And then it's just about, the people she meets, and, it's a really, really interesting book. So, The Spice Necklace by Anne Vanderhoff. It is nonfiction.
Nice.
And then I also wanted to talk about fried green tomatoes.
Yes.
Have you ever had fried green tomatoes?
I don't believe that I have.
When the movie came out, I think I would have been about 11...
Really?
87?
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
I thought it was the 90s. Anyway.
No, I feel like it was the 80s. Maybe it was early 90s. Yeah.
I could Google it while you're talking.
You could, but...
You go ahead and continue.
So when the movie came out, my parents decided they wanted to make fried green tomatoes. And I had not yet read the book, but the book does have a recipe in it for fried green tomatoes. So
1991.
91. Aren't you smarty pants? No, you're not. You Googled it. So, yeah, I enjoyed fried green tomatoes, the movie, the book, and the food.
Nice.
And in fact...
You wish you could have some right now.
I would like some right now. Yeah,
They're breaded?
Yeah.
I can't see how you could go wrong.
They're breaded. You fry them up in the frying pan, some salt and pepper. They're not really difficult to make. Even I could probably make them. Maybe not. We'll see. And then there are a lot of cozy mysteries that are about food, but
Yes. And, well, one of probably the most famous fiction books is the Joanne Fluke series, the Hannah Swenson. So, like, the blueberry pie murder and chocolate chip, whatever. So she's a baker, I think. I tried to read one, like, a long time ago. I feel like when I was still in Halifax. So I don't remember it all, but I believe she's, like, a baker in a small town, and mysteries happen. So she's like the Jessica Fletcher. And then she gets involved, and there's baking involved in it, too. And usually at the end of the book, there's a recipe for, like, if it's blueberry pie mysteries or murders or whatever, then there would be a blueberry pie recipe. There would be some sort of theme to the title going on in the...
yeah, I'm not a big cozy mystery reader. I mean, it's just not a genre that appeals to me, but I am a fan of cookies.
Yeah. So you could just flip to the back and get the recipes.
Oh, no, I don't want to make them. I want somebody to bring me cookies. Have I not emphasized this enough?
I feel like, yeah.
I did a lot around Christmas time, emphasize that people should bring me cookies.
One that I think you've just recently read is Lucy Knisley's Relish. No, you read her...
I have read Relish. That's the one where she's, like, cooking with her mom.
Every chapter is, like, a different food experience and moment in her life. And it's followed by a recipe. This is a graphic novel. It's really nicely done. So there's like a croissant chapter. There's a pesto chapter.
Oh, I love pesto.
There's all kinds of different, like I feel like there's a fried chicken chapter. I'm wondering if it's right on the shelf behind me and I should go back and get it.
I'm hungry now.
I know.
I love Lucy Knisley's stuff. I have just really gotten into it. I read one and then I've kind of been going backwards in time and reading her other things. Even the graphic novel about getting married, she and her, well, then husband-to-be, decided they would do the wedding their own way. And there's like a whole section about how they were deciding what food they wanted to make and eat.
She is a very food-oriented person.
And yet,
both her parents... Yeah, you can love food and be wee. Like...
I can't.
No, neither can I. But that's okay. Her mother worked... is it Rhinebeck that her mother lived in? And there's sort of a thriving community, like farming community there, and lots of farmers markets. So she used to help her mom on the farmers markets. One of her first jobs was working in like a cheese shop. She also worked at Dina DeLuca, made famous by Felicity.
I never watched Felicity.
I did. I loved it. It was good. First season was awesome. So she's very food-oriented. I really like that.
Yeah, I encourage people to read Lucy Knisley.
Across the board. Yeah.
Knisley?
I don't know.
Okay.
We've pronounced it 5 different ways.
Okay.
And I meant to look it up and I forgot.
Knisley.
I think it's Knisley, but I'm not sure.
So if you're looking for the book, that's the spelling, and you can put a hold on it and you can read it and see if you get the same joy out of it that we do.
So 2 of my favorite food books. One is Tender at the Bone by Ruth Reichel.
I keep meaning to read that because you've described it, and obviously you're about to describe it again.
So my book club read it a couple of years ago, and I had read it previously and really enjoyed it. So Ruth Reichel was a food critic. I believe she worked at Gourmet. She was like a food editor. So she was a real food person. She was not a secret shopper. She was a secret food critic. She would come in and write articles.
Food critics are not secret food critics. They just don't tell them that they're food critics.
Well, she was technically I don't know how to describe it. She used to have to disguise herself because people had pictures of her up in their restaurants.
It would be hard to be a food critic if you become well known for it.
Yes, yeah.
Because then people, the whole point is to get the regular kind of meals and the regular service.
Exactly, yes. So Tender at the Bone starts off with her childhood. She's written several other sort of autobiographical food-related books, but Tender at the Bone is my favorite. It talks initially about her mom, and her mom was a terrible cook. And there's a great chapter describing how her mother was really almost like a poisoner. She would like take a turkey that had been sitting in the fridge for a couple of weeks and serve it, or she would do soup and she'd just throw anything. And Ruth used to go around at dinner parties and say to people, don't eat that green stuff. It's not supposed to be green. Just avoid that. So she'd go around trying to save the guests.
That's really disconcerting.
Well, they all knew, like, I guess her mother had like a real iron stomach, and so nothing really bothered it, but she wouldn't think twice about like rotten food, like serving it, like it was just, or like mixing really weird things together. Mm-hmm. So now her mother did have some mental health issues towards the end of her life. And I saw a really interesting interview with Ruth Reichel where she talks about her mother as sort of the 50s housewife and how her mother had been like an English lit student and had done, like, was a very intellectual person and then became a housewife because that's what she was supposed to do. But a housewife in a time where there were dishwashers and there were, like, you're not doing the same amount of work that the previous generation of housewife had done. And so they had this really different sort of lost like existence, and her mother didn't deal with it very well. It's fascinating. No, I did that as research for the book club.
Oh, yes.
Another favorite of mine.
I do want to read that book, though.
I highly recommend Tender at the Bone is amazing by Ruth Reichel. A second one, which is again like an autobiographical book is A Homemade Life.
Please say werewolf.
No. By Molly Weisenberg. And you may not know that name. She used to write a blog, which I followed in the early aughts. And this was her first book. She's since written a second book where she and her former husband open up a pizza place and they talk about building this restaurant and getting how they made their pizza dough, and they taste tested all these places in New York and and like how hard it was to get staff. It was really interesting. But A Homemade Life, much like Relish, sort of starts in her childhood, and it talks about the death of her father, and they were real food people, and her father was like a really great cook, and her parents were older parents, or her father was older and her mother was younger. I can't quite remember. So there was a really interesting dynamic. I think the father might have had like an other family, like had divorced, and so she had older siblings. And it was one of those households where she didn't get like kid food. Like there would have been no dinosaur nuggets for Molly. She would have eaten what the grown-ups were eating.
I mean, I didn't get dinosaur nuggets either. Dinosaur nuggets are relatively recent.
I know, she's a little younger than us. Anyway, one of your favorite recipes that I've made, which is the Winning Hearts and Minds cake that I made for you and Rachel.
Is that the flourless one?
Yes.
Oh, that is so good and chocolatey.
Is one of my favorite recipes. It's from that book. And I do make it all the time, although they've stopped making the chocolate that I've preferred to use with it, so I haven't made it in a while.
It is such a good cake.
But she has great stories about like one year when she was a teenager, she was obsessed with macaroons, like coconut macaroons, and her favorite place wherever they lived, I feel like they lived in California or something, made these amazing macaroons. And so she phoned the restaurant and said, would you make me like a giant cookie macaroon cake? And they did. They made her like a huge macaroon for her birthday cake that year. So she had all these like weird food experiences that I'm just like,
I would have never done that.
No.
Never.
My life was so, and I love those books where people have very different food experiences. Growing up on PEI, it was very like meat and potatoes. And the most exotic thing I would have had was like lasagna. And even that lasagna wouldn't have been the lasagna I would make right now. And so it's so fascinating to hear people who've had these really, I don't know what to call it, but
different than your food experiences.
So she's had a very interesting food life, and she's like a food writer, and she had a blog, and I don't know if she's still writing in her blog now. I follow her on Instagram.
So I'm going to give a quick update. I have read 47 books and completed 34 of the 50 Pop Sugar Reading Challenges.
Wow, does that beat last year?
I think so, yeah.
Good job.
So I'm well on track to get 100 books this year.
Nice.
And I haven't even gone on vacation yet.
It's true.
Yeah. And when I go on vacation in August, I have a trailer booked for a week. It has no Wi-Fi, and it is on the beach. You know, unless we get a second wave and I can't go to New Brunswick. But my whole plan, I just have like a cajillion books to take with me. I'm very excited about it. Do we want to talk about library things?
Yes, I think we should.
So, the Forefathers Library is now open to the public, including the bookshelves, 20 hours a week, so our hours are reduced. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You can find them on the website. We can only have a certain number of people in at a time so that we can make sure that people can be physically distanced. We will be counting people as they come in. We are restricting the amount of time you can spend on computers. We are not encouraging people to stay. It's really not a come and linger kind of thing. It's a come in, pick your books, and go. But baby steps. We're moving forward. I'm very excited. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be reopened.
Yeah.
And I hope it stays. You can't see this, but I just knocked on wood. We also have now grab-and-go contactless pickup at the Pugwash Library and the Advocate Library. So if you would like to get holds there, you can call them. You can place items on hold to pick up there. You can email them. We'll put their email addresses up on the website, and you can get in touch and let them know what you want. In Advocate, she's going to be literally handing them out through the window.
Yep.
We had to figure out, every day is reinventing the wheel.
We got to do what we got to do.
We want to make sure everybody is safe. So, and still doing borrow by mail. So if you live anywhere in the county, even in Amherst or Pugwash or Advocate, but you would rather get your books delivered to you by mail, we are doing that. All you need to do is give us a call at 902-667-2549. We will get your book order and verify your address and mail it to you.
You can also place a hold in the catalog, and if you choose borrow by mail, we will then give you a call and confirm your address.
And mail it to you.
And mail it out to you.
And it's not just books. Anything that fits into a mailer bag. So we have jigsaw puzzles, we have DVDs, we have TV shows, we have whatever is in the collection that we can fit in a mailer bag, we will send to you to borrow. So, yeah.
It's coming along.
Every day is a new adventure. What are you reading right now?
Okay, you're going to like this.
Am I?
Yes, you are.
Is it Barbarians?
No, it's not. We have to talk about that, too, because I think we should each read An Ice Planet by Barbarian. Mm-hmm. So, last week, I had an opportunity to attend like a Zoom thingy. I don't know what to call event, because it's not like I had a Zoom meeting with Sarah McLean. No. It was like a Zoom event with two of my, well, not my favorites, but Fated Mates and Learning the Tropes. So two podcasts that I listen to quite frequently. And they were recommending books, and they were sort of like playing fun games and just talking about Sarah's new book coming out, blah, blah, blah. So one of the things they talked about was the Were Hedgehog series.
But the only problem with the Were Hedgehog series is that I don't get to hear you say werewolf.
Yes. So I am currently reading Hedging His Bets, Honey and Fur. That's the series, book 1, by Selena Kyle.
So the series is Honey and Fur.
Honey and Fur. So
are all of them Were Hedgehogs?
No, there's different kinds of wares, because there's a Were Bear that hangs out at the bar.
It reminds me of that book that we have, Hot and Badgered, which is a Were Badger.
I really do. Adam and I were talking about one of those the other day, and I don't know what book it is in the series, but it's a honey badger and a panda, a were panda.
Romance.
Yes. They're in human form. Let me just say that. So in Hedging His Bets, the hero is a were hedgehog, and his mate is just a regular human. And so he's this big, muscly, bikery dude who shifts into this adorable little hedgehog. He doesn't like to spread it around that he's a hedgehog.
Well, I feel like that would put you in
A bad position.
Yeah. It's not like hedgehogs are huge.
No, they're not. And they're adorable. People love them. Everybody loves a hedgehog. So he comes up with this plan. She rescues hedgehogs and fosters them. So he gets his cousin to attack him as a hedgehog outside of like the bar where she works, because his cousin's a were-hedgehog too. And then she takes him into her house, and then he lives with her as a hedgehog. And it's actually really amusing because, you know, she takes him to the vet and they've got to take his temperature. So he's not pleased about that at all. And she calls him Norman and he's like, that's not my name. And
I feel like there's some consent issues, though, because he's in her house.
it doesn't last for very long. It does not last for very long. And she is very angry with him about it. But then he gets in a bike accident, not as a hedgehog, as a human. And
Okay.
she's got to take him back in again. I haven't gotten to any sexy time yet because she's just mad at him all the time at this point. But nonetheless, when Sarah McLean was talking about this series, she had said the author basically was dared to write this book and sort of just threw everything at the wall. And it's like this crazy pants, bananas, fantastically awesome.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, I mean, is it my favorite book ever? No. But it, like, again, we're in a reading slump. It's good.
It's light, fluffy.
There's a hedgehog in it.
There's a hedgehog in it. I mean, I'm quite amused by it, actually.
I'm glad.
As you can tell, since it was like everything I could do to stop laughing. What I'm reading is not nearly so light and fluffy, not even a little.
Of course it's not.
I'm reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. It's thank you for your critique.
That was a disgusted noise.
It's the prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy, and it focuses on Coriolanus Snow.
Who's the evil person in the...
In the Hunger Games,
Yeah.
he is the evil President Snow.
So why? Who cares? Who cares about him?
But this is about how he got there. He doesn't start evil.
Who cares?
Okay.
Is there no one else in the world that they could have focused on?
Well, you know, sometimes books hit authors and they just need to write them. Anyway, I'm actually enjoying this book. I might go back and reread The Hunger Games.
Because you read all 3 of the Hunger Games, didn't you?
I did. I like the first one best.
That's usually the way.
Yeah, but we'll see. But it will give me a different perspective on those books, and it has been a long time since I read them because I read The Hunger Games when it
First came out.
Yeah. So I am excited. I'm enjoying this. I don't know. Right now he's still 18, and I'm almost at the end, and so I'm not sure what's.
Do you think it's going to be another trilogy?
It might be because
Okay.
I feel like, you know, we really haven't gotten to any sort of resolution yet. So I feel like there will have to be another book within this.
At least one. Okay, interesting.
I am enjoying it, though. I am finding it interesting. Next week, we're going to talk about books with multiple authors.
Yes.
And you can find us on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram. We have a Facebook group now, My Two Favorite Librarians. Chantel has posted things there recently about fated mates.
Yes, last week's basically space romance
Yeah.
episode. I posted the episode that I listened to get ready.
Yes. Do we want to talk about Ice Planet Barbarians?
Well, you had said you thought we should read.
Yes.
And I think we should.
Is it on Hoopla?
It is on Hoopla, and I'm
Okay.
pretty sure they're all on audio.
Okay.
So maybe while, I'm going on vacation, and you're going to be doing a little bit of bubble traveling, increased bubble traveling.
Traveling into New Brunswick. I'm very excited.
So maybe not next week, but the week after, we could talk about Ice Planet Barbarians.
Okay.
And we'll have to decide. We'll discuss it maybe. We're going to do a little podcast this week, so maybe we'll discuss it in more detail there, and we can decide which books we're going to read.
Okay.
Because I'm on board for a ridiculous reading challenge.
And on that note, see you next week.
Bye.
My Two Favorite Librarians. Brought to you by Copper Tree Boutique in Dales Grand Market, located in beautiful, historic downtown Amherst.